I don't care. We're doing it live.
That's not the actual quote, but close enough.
I'm not gonna drop an F-bomb like in the first 10 seconds of the video.
Yeah, no, that's
podcast. Like,
that is fair.
I mean, if we ever get monetized by YouTube, they will unmonetize us immediately for doing shit like that. I think even for saying shit, that's not good enough.
We're never gonna get monetized on YouTube.
It wouldn't take much effort from us to do that, to be honest.
Like I said.
You
said effort.
The horrible E word. There's the F word, the D word, the E word.
Anyway, we are the Grumpy Dungeon Masters. I'm Jay, joined by Christopher, Dan, and Kristian. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
I'm getting it better. I'm getting it more smooth, making the intros a little easier.
Yeah, you could just record it and have like music and stuff.
Well, no, we actually have a musical intro for when the podcast starts. I know you've never listened to the podcast before, but
why would I do that?
Yeah.
I've listened to it before I was on it, but I'm definitely not going to listen to myself talk.
Yeah, I don't either.
I played in the background on mute multiple times to help with the view count. That's about it. I'm not joking. Like that's something you've got to do. It's really shitty.
Artificially inflate the view count?
Yeah.
Then how do you get real statistics and know like what's actual views and what's your fake views?
Well, he knows how many times he played through it.
Yeah.
You know, if there's 5 views total and he played through it 4 times, he knows how many people watched it.
Yeah, I have done like a bare amount of research into like what it would take for this to be more successful on YouTube and stuff like that. And a lot comes down to how much you get people to listen to it within the first couple hours. So like when Jay releases it at 2 a.m. and it usually makes its way to YouTube around 3 a.m., that's like the death. Like that would have to go away immediately. Like that. We do this for fun. We do this for just relaxation and stuff like that as a hobby. I know a lot of people do listen to it. I have people comment to me all the time at my LGS about it. So I know people listen to it. But I know when it comes to YouTube, it's like we do everything completely wrong.
Oh,
we
no, yeah. We do not try to maximize the algorithm by any means. We're just doing this shit for fun.
Spotify is a little bit of a different story. They care about different things than YouTube does. And we do relatively well on there. Not like about to get advertising money or anything like that, but it exists.
Speaking of algorithms, I'd seen a video not too long ago. I don't remember who posted it, but it was about the death of a bunch of D&D channels because of the YouTube algorithm. And are you guys familiar with the YouTube channel, The Man Shorts?
Yes, I am at least.
I am not.
They used to do these absolutely fantastic comedy videos of groups of, it's like these 4 players or 3 players and a DM sitting at a table running through a game, and it was always different editions. One would be like a holiday edition, the Florida edition, just ridiculous stuff, and it was a lot of fun. It ran for several years, and they closed down the channel. Well, they didn't delete the channel or anything, but they stopped making them and announced their retirement because the algorithm wasn't working or whatever. People just stopped watching all of a sudden.
Well, part of that was because the content they were putting out was presented wrong with how YouTube wants to track engagement. So they refuse to kind of like get with the times and change with that. And that's something you got to do, unfortunately.
Some of it's also that some of these channels just didn't like there were some channels that got a whole lot of boost when the OGL stuff was going on because everybody was paying attention to that and watching
Man Shorts got real big during the COVID pandemic.
So, and then after that, like things like the pandemic or the OGL things where there were those spikes in interest and views. Well, there's the downside of that in that it comes back down once, people had less spare time again, or there wasn't some like big thing going on that was drawing attention and eyeballs.
Yep.
Yeah. So for the man short specifically is that the kind of content they were putting out wasn't meeting up with what YouTube would consider a normal channel. They were doing like 4 or 5 part series that were about 50-minute long videos, which just don't work in today's YouTube landscape kind of thing. Um, and their shorts were fairly popular, but it wasn't enough to keep them afloat essentially.
Yeah, they were really the only channel I can think of like that doing those. But there's a lot of people on TikTok who do that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got other platforms that compete, and yeah.
I mean,
Ex- ex-
you see the stuff that a couple of the other like more popular YouTube channels do, like Ginny D, unfortunately, where
She actually hasn't come up in my algorithm in months, oddly
yeah,
enough.
where like it's still hard because I mean, let's be honest, like this topic is definitely a niche hobby for a lot of people and a lot of things. So podcasting seems to do better. Critical Role as a live content service is an enigma. I
Yeah.
don't think that anyone else can really duplicate what they do. But
I
you
don't
also got to
know.
think too is
Dimension
that
20.
well, yeah, they would be second, but in both cases, there are a bunch of improv comedians or
Mhm.
actors that do this for fun. So it it kind of just works out in that thing. And like you have 2 big improv comedy D&D shows going on, and that seems to work. But look at like even Penny Arcades, Acquisition Incorporated, they don't get a tenth of the viewership that either Dimension 20 or Critical Role does, and that's a pretty successful brand from pretty successful people. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, those two, they bring a skill set that is acquired from different places that plays well to this kind of audience. And so having that additional skill set
yeah,
really helps when you're doing a performative thing, having professional performative experience and training and stuff turns out to be useful
yeah, yeah.
experience.
So, I've talked to people like what they like about this podcast and what keeps them listening. A lot of times it's mostly the grumpy stories. That seems to be the biggest draw. People who listen to us complain about players being absolutely fucking stupid. And, I got Adventures League and that's where I get most of my shit.
Yep.
And I got a story for this week. Believe you me.
Oh boy,
Um,
can't wait.
I got fucking video proof, not video, but photographic proof of this. So, that's what it is, and us discussing stuff that goes over well. You look at our videos that we've done and put on our YouTube channel that we've played around with. All of our review videos that we review topics or like things that we find, like the Atomic Barbarian stuff. That stuff's done really well. When we reviewed a couple like the Advanced 5e books, and we saw the playtest and we actually put those videos up, people really liked and watched a lot of those. So, there's definitely still an audience out there. Depends how far you want to go with it, to kind of just see what we can really do. But for right now, we just do this and it's fun.
Yeah, it is definitely for a niche audience, and since we are more dungeon master focused, it's even more of a niche audience.
This is getting
Yeah.
real like meta self commentary.
Yeah. Happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, we are going to Gary Con, which is just the con for DMs. So
Ooh, can't wait! Can't
yeah,
wait!
Yeah. Very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm still hoping we can manage to make it work and get several games together.
Yeah.
I feel like we will. Like I said, I've got a few people that have reached out to me that say that they're running pickup games, and if we ended up need something, like I've got some people that are I can confirm for them, and we can get in a game. That
Yeah, I have no doubt that if we want, we can find games together.
yeah.
Oh,
We'll know next weekend.
yeah, we'll
Yep.
know next weekend for sure. And but there's so many gamers there. The whole thing is just a bunch of DMs running games and playing games, so it shouldn't be hard to find games.
Yeah, and so like that's the biggest thing, and like I said, eventually keeps me busy. Um,
So
and
yeah,
then I gotta.
go ahead and feed us your story. I want to hear about this.
So Actually, let me. I gotta find the photos, and I'll put them in our
Okay.
podcast chat to look at
Is
it.
it
So
is it the ones you showed the other night of the map?
yes,
See,
the map.
I just saw 3 photos of some minis on a map with no context of what the hell I was looking at, so nothing
Well,
made
yeah,
sense.
I didn't want to put more contacts into it because I'd have to explain it again, or I forget to talk about it. So if you're listening, go to our Discord. You can find our Discord link on our Facebook page and take a look at these photos. So I'm running, I believe it's this order.
Yeah, which channel are you
I'm
putting them
running
in?
Eve of
Po-
Ruin, or the podcast chat channel.
Podcast chat. There you go. That way people can
So
find this stuff,
yeah,
like me.
so so I'm running through Eve of Ruin, and they're in Dragonlance now. Okay, um, I'm trying to keep things interesting for what I know. I don't know much about Dragonlance. I know magic comes from the moons. Uh, that's about it.
Accurate,
I
yeah.
don't think the weave is there.
There's no weave.
No.
Yeah, all magic comes from the moons, and I actually have the players discover that as they're casting spells and stuff like that. I didn't know what moons do what, so I left that kind of vague.
Yeah, that's fair. There's
I've done a
there's
little bit of Google
It's-
research, right?
yeah.
it's
I
pretty
couldn't do it live if
It's
I
white
had
magic, black magic, and neutral magic.
yeah, but I didn't know how to tie that into transmutation and divination and shit. So, I kept it
Don't
vague.
worry, Watsy didn't either. So
Yeah, I know.
TSR on the other hand did.
Mhm.
Traditionally, the white mages were better at things like
Abjuration.
abjuration. Red mages were particularly good at illusion and enchantment, and your evil, your black robes. They were your necromancers.
Yeah. So I didn't know the specifics. I just kind of gave them with your vague understanding of where you are right now, what's going on. You seem to be pulling power from the moons, but you don't know how that's making you feel. And as to Dan's point, I could have Googled it ahead of time. You're right. I should have. I didn't. And I was at the table and I wasn't going to stop the game so I
Mhm.
could Google something. Anyways, so I'm talking to him about that, and things are going well. No real big issues or whatnot. There's a kindred that they basically found, who's basically leading them to this group called the Black Fire Cloaks. I'm not sure if that's a known organization or
I
made
don't
up
know
for
them.
this. But they were basically in charge of this tree, and this tree is this giant magical tree because there's a piece of the rod of 7 parts inside of it. But there was a fight at the tree, and this group of essentially druids, they're all werewolf, but they all seem to have some kind of druidic magic of some kind, but not really druid stuff. I would just assume it's something from Dragonlance. And they basically they lost the fight, and they abandoned the tree, and they ran away. They're hiding out. They meet the group meets his kindred. They defeat
Kinder,
this
Kinder, please get it
sorry,
right.
Kinder. They fight something called a Bardock. No, not a Bardock. Let me find it here real quick.
Sure.
Bodak?
No, not a Bodak.
They're not in Minnesota or Wisconsin or wherever the hell the Bodak's from.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, that's the Hodag. I'm sorry.
A Borthak. Like this giant fucking wolf. It was like a CR12 wolf or some kind. And they were able to defeat it. They talked to this Blue Fire Wardens and the Blue Fire Blue Fire Wardens, and they learned that there's this agent of Lord Soth that's in this Red Moon Temple, and they got to basically sneak inside and defeat her and get the rod piece back and stop the ritual that caused the red moonlight to hit around the tower, so the werewolves don't go insane and go completely feral again. And so the team basically decided to go in there. The Kinder goes with them because he has some aura put on him to basically make the effects of the red light not affect him, which makes me wonder why they couldn't go into the building themselves, as they had this aura But
Because
nonetheless,
because plot holes.
because plot holes. So they sneak in. The Kinder brings them the back way. Somehow he knows about this back way in, which is like it leads into the prison. And what you're supposed to do is, since you're coming in the back way, is you're supposed to sneak into the prison, sneak around for a little bit, and then find uh, the jail cells and kind of just explore things around. And you find a bunch of undead just kind of staying around, hanging around for a little bit, but they don't have their leader there to kind of really command them. So you should get the surprise round on a couple things. Nothing bigger than like a beholder zombie, a couple ogre zombies, a bunch of skeletons, and a bunch of just regular zombies. So with a surprise round, you could just clean everything up and be on your way. What ended up happening is one of the children in the game, and I call him a children because he's an underage kid, his dad brings him, decides to run around the corner and start shouting at the ghosts down the hallway. Now, the ghosts are these wraiths that basically patrol the hallways that have a horn that, if they sound, all the undead in the area come to assist them. So you're not supposed to, like, fight them directly, or at least if you can, lock them down real quick. And so this kid launches the horn, screams it all around, and all the undead basically come. So if you look at the pictures,
If I count this correctly, okay, so all of the dudes in the hallway on the left are your players, right?
yeah. So in the first picture,
so there's 28. That first picture, I count 28 villain like enemies.
there. So if you look at the thing on the far right, where the end of the zombies are, and there's like that big empty room, that's also full of zombies too.
Yeah, I'm just going with what I can count.
Guy, because I didn't have enough minis to put on the board. So essentially,
What level are they?
14. This is a simple thing, and they're all like, "Oh God, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die." And like I'm looking at,
I don't know, wall of force, Vivard's black tentacles, lightning bolt, wall of fire down the hallway.
Yeah, there's a lot of answers if you got wizards.
Everybody,
any caster. I mean, heck, a single fighter could control that corridor. It's you getting one or two in there at a time. Fighter and barbarians step up to the streets, and they're just mauling through and munching through people.
Oh yeah,
the group is panicking. Okay, there's visible panic on everybody, and I just I attribute it to that they're all much younger players. And there's one guy, an older guy, who's I'm actually going to play Shadow Dark with him later. He's a 15th level cleric, and he looks at me.
Oh, jeez.
He's just like, I don't know how far I want to take this. I was just like, let him based. So he does, and eventually, the players. If you look through the photos, you can see that eventually the beholder zombie gets into the mix, and there's the minotaur skeletons as well too that show up, and then more zombies from around the corner come through. And they just basically start wasting every single high level spell they have, throwing fireballs and everything down the hallway. And even, I think they have 7th level spells now?
14th level.
Yeah,
14 and 15,
spells,
yeah.
15th level, we all have 8th level spells, which is...
Yeah, so the wizard used her 8th level fireball.
Oh my god.
Right.
Why?
I'm not telling them.
Oh no, you're the DM. It is not your job. But the cleric, 15th level cleric, all he had to do is turn undead.
No, man, don't even turn undead. Like, seriously, just get the fighters up front, cast Spirit Guardians, and stand behind them.
You don't want to waste all that. You don't want to waste all that time. One turn undead clears the whole front half of that room.
At that level, those are all CR2 or below.
Yeah, he did use turn undead, and he killed a bunch of them, but he only did turn undead after he cast 7th level Spirit Guardians.
Oh my gosh.
And he was like, I should have probably led with that and actually tested their toughness out first. I was like, yeah. But like I did knock down the barbarian kid that caused all this situation to happen, and they blew so many high level spells. And it's just because they weren't placing them right. It's a small hallway, so they really couldn't see past the ogre. So I said their AoE effects could be in the front of the ogre or backwards, being that's such a tight, small hallway. And Yeah, it was
So,
it was a beating
all right.
for the zombies, not for the players. They just kind of wasted a shit ton of resources, and I'm like,
So let me ask you this: is your group is this a regular group that you play with weekly? Is the same guys
uh,
every week?
this group seems to be, yeah, they're pretty much the same people over and over.
So they've been playing this for what, like 3 chapters of Eve of Ruin?
This is the um 6th chapter.
How many sessions is that? Like 20?
I started it in January. Um,
Oh,
I have
that's not that many
fresh.
sessions then. So
Yeah.
they're kind of blazing through it. But
Oh, well, yeah,
uh,
they are blazing through it mostly because I since I have the book, I kind of basically set up each book as like, okay, we're going to dungeon crawl for a session, boss fight for a session, because it's really hard to have very long sessions that have a lot of fighting in them. So I seem just it
Bridges
paces
of a
better
Claire.
that way.
Well,
Um,
all I'm getting at is that I mean, you always have the one guy that will run up and like drag the entire dungeon onto the rest of the party. You always end up having that one guy. That's fine. But if these guys have been playing at least 4, 5, 6 games together, you got to get the teamwork down. Man, that is just a waste of resources and hilarious though. Like
yeah,
What?
I mean, the descriptions of these things is clearly zombies, ogre zombies,
Yeah,
and zombie beholder. I mean, like,
Dan, you're also dealing with people who are actually new to D&D.
yeah.
Like I
They
know
they
they're
they
they're
saw
for
the zombie beholder. Not a single one of them took like any kind of perception to figure out what it was. And they all assumed it was a real live zombie. And even a
you mean
couple of
real life
them,
beholder.
yeah, real life
mm,
beholder. And a couple of them were like, "Wait, it fired its eye beams while its magic cone was up." I was like, "Maybe."
what magic cone?
Mhm.
Like, did I say there's a magic cone?
Yeah,
Like, spells are still going off.
that eye looks really pale for some reason.
And like, when I use minis, I've told people, it's like, if I have a map, um, that is like, printed out from the thing, I try to make my maps as detailed as possible because I fail a lot of the times when it comes to describing monsters and zombies unless you ask for a description. So I try to get a one for one, like those are obviously zombies minis, so they are zombies.
Mhm.
If they
Yeah.
are something different, I will explain that there's something different and understand it. And I put all these things out, and they're like, "Okay, are these skeletons and zombies?" I was like, "Yes, they are." And no one questioned it. And they just started using 8th level spells, 7th level spells. So, um, but yeah, the kid just caused the whole thing to happen, and everyone was kind of pissed. And um, they were
There, there's always one.
there's
There's
always
always
one.
one.
It seems like, but they had fun, so that's really all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Um,
looks like it would have been fun. Yeah.
oh yeah, it was
D-
fun for me because they're all
So,
panicking. I'm just like,
are they going to get a long rest before your boss encounter next session?
no.
Well, that's going to be
Oh,
hard.
yeah. Best of luck to them. That's the thing, though. Like when you're new to Dungeons and Dragons or role playing games, you need to make those mistakes
Hmm.
because that's the only way you really learn to how to conserve resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I hear, I've been playing a long time, Dan. All of us played forever, and my initial thought for this whole encounter is just okay. You have a 15th level cleric, turn undead, then just block off the hallway and mow down what's left.
Yeah.
Dan's like, just put the fucking fighter up front.
Yeah.
I
he's
mean,
he's
that's
like
what,
A zombie's only going to hit at that fighter on a nat 20.
yeah, he's
I
like, I'm
mean,
not burning any resources.
yeah, like the most I'd burn on this would be maybe have the cleric cast a spirit guardians. I wouldn't actually even bother wasting the turn undead. I would
Eh,
just have a level 3 spirit guardians that would munch up all the stuff basically, so that your fighter's killing at least 3 things around at that level.
I feel like in general that spell slot is more likely to find better use later than a cult or a channel divinity would. Like channel divinities,
Depending, it
once
depends on your
depends on the cleric, the
domain.
type. Yeah,
Depends on your domain, yeah. But
yeah,
for,
they
for my
use,
money, spirit guardians is the bread and butter of any good cleric, and the cleric at that level better be having himself some resilient con or warcaster, and things like that in order to actually maintain his spells. But yeah, they handled it. They handled it however they wanted to handle it, and now they're going to take the physical challenge with the boss fight next session. That's
Yeah. So
ought to
all
be
in all, I
fun.
think they wasted a dimension door. Because the cleric and the wizard were like when the horn was sounded from the race, like the secret door closed shut and the magic runes turned that the activated turned off. So that situation for them was they had to use a big spell to get through, which was fine. And then the but the fireball and everything else that kind of went along with it, just like felt a lot like overkill in just my opinion. But you know, like you said, they gotta learn and just like
Yeah, I mean it's
figure
like
things out.
it's like you're Brock Lesnar and you're punting, children.
Yeah, and like even when I was fighting, did the Strahd encounter the time before, they were struggling with the base Strahd, and this is Strahd of the Death House, the one that you beat, Dan. They were struggling with it um, without me casting Greater Invisibility at all. If I had cast Greater Invisibility with Strahd, they would have died. And like there would have been nothing they could have done to stop me. And I don't want to. I got to find that balance sometimes in Adventures League. Is like, how much do I want to handle them with kids' gloves, and how much do I want to handle them with like the force that I can actually wield. You know, and I figure if I'm having fun, they're having fun, and I had fun with it. And
I mean,
well,
as the game master, you can always win.
I
That
know I can, but
no, no,
like,
no, I know you shouldn't. You have to gauge the room.
yeah,
Experienced players, you pull out all the stops. Not experienced players, you don't want to do the greater invisibility stride.
yeah, but there was a couple players there that was like, he didn't use Greater Invisibility. I was like, did you not just see the fight we were in? If I
Yeah.
would have done that, you would have died. And so like it's a hard balance in Adventures League. Like I kind of wish I could take the table and split it in two sometimes, and have like the more experienced players and the less experienced players. But I just don't have the resources to do that.
Do the experienced players at the table ever guide the less experienced players?
Not always.
Yeah, I mean, that is what it is.
Depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Yeah, like because we have with our play group, we have two newer players, and we have a lot of experienced players, and we definitely try to guide them into the best way of getting through each encounter, because our DMs aren't pulling any punches for sure, and they shouldn't. So we got to make sure that we do what we can to make sure everybody's using their abilities right.
Yeah. Just with Adventures League, that's kind of hard because like you can kind of feel like you're stepping on people's toes or telling them how to play or something like that, and like you don't want that.
No.
But at the same time, like you know, friendships are being made, and when things open up maybe a little bit more, and they can figure things out. And
Yeah, I
then
mean,
sometimes players just show up to power game, and then the sessions are like, I got to somehow run a game that's good enough for you, and then still manageable for the people that can't play like you.
yeah, I mean, sometimes
And
you get a turtle hit with 22 armor class at level 1.
those are easy. It's the Stegosaurus man that I have problems with.
The Stegosaurus, man.
It was a barbarian of like some weird animal thing, and like he can change like what kind of animal parts he had on him. So like
I
he had
remember us. I remember us talking about this
yeah.
long time ago.
I mean, but the guy was like made it's like, hey, this is really broke. It's gonna be a lot of fun for me. It's not gonna be a lot of fun for you. And I'm just like, yeah, all right. Um Blade singers are always just the fucking worst, but because like they weren't limited to elves. I know we talked about that a little bit, but because they're not
Oh yeah,
limited to elves in AL, it just becomes a little bit of like, okay, well, I'm gonna be a goblin blade singer and just fuck your shit up. Have a great day. You can't hit me ever.
So on a similar topic to that, so I was at my local game store playing Magic a couple days ago, and one of the regulars up there apparently has been talked into DMing a 5.5 game. And I didn't know exactly what edition, but they're sitting there making characters and everything, and he had some uh, he was trying to figure something out, trying to look it up, and I asked him which edition he was playing, and his response was 5e. And I'm like, yeah, but is it the new one? He had no idea if it was the new one. And this is brand new Game Master. So I had him show me the book, and it was 5.5. And this is kind of a throwback to a discussion we've had many, many times before, where they sort of screwed the pooch on the edition. Naming it like they never named it properly, and now a brand new DM doesn't even know what fucking edition he's running.
Yeah, it's been really hard to police. Not really hard. Be fair, it's like I am not policing what edition the players run. Like if you're using the new edition, that's fine. Use a new edition. I don't care. Use whatever spell books that you have in front of you, and I'll go by what you tell me the spell does. There's a lot of spells I know. There's many more I don't know. So if you can read me the text verbiage, whether it's the new book or the old book, I don't care. I will use that version of it.
The spells in the new edition are way more powerful than they were in the old one, or in the
for the most part.
5e. Yeah, they definitely are.
So, and that's just been how I've been doing it. And I've been using the new characters and like the new fighters and stuff like that. And it generally it hasn't been an issue, but it could definitely be an issue if I was trying to put together a game and I'd tell them, okay, you either got to use this book, not this book, but not these books. But I'm going to allow this book. Like,
yeah. Yeah, because now nobody knows what to allow, what not to allow. Or brand new people don't even know what edition they're playing. It's 5th edition. Is it?
It's 2.5.
Yeah. Anyway. So, Kristian, you said you had a topic?
I did have a topic.
Can we get angry about it?
Oh, no, this is not an angry. This is not a thing to get angry about, unfortunately.
Boo this man.
Okay.
We're not the angry Grunge Masters guys, we're the grumpy.
Oh,
There's
right.
going to be something completely reasonable that we're just going to blow out of proportion and make you guys wonder, why am I on his Facebook friends chat?
No, this is something that is going on in February. It is called, I guess February has become Zine Month or Zine Quest as run by Kickstarter. But the idea of it is to basically highlight smaller indie TTRPG game creators and give them a time period where their creations will be highlighted, and there's a bunch of stuff going on promoted to get some attention to small creators of small little zines. And they're anything from supplements to all kinds of popular games to super short, small, self-contained RPGs that are great for like one shots and beer and pretzels game nights and that kind of thing. So
this is a Kickstarter thing? Or?
It's on Kickstarter, but it's expanded beyond just Kickstarter. Kickstarter started it, I guess, a few years ago doing Zine. They call Zine Quest, and they invited a bunch of like smaller creators, and they try to promote it on their platform to get attention to small like indie RPG creators. And then some of them have moved past Kickstarter. There's some going on BackerKit, and some of them are on like platforms like itch.io. But it's just generally like February is the time for all the indie creators rally and try to put some small product out for Zine Month.
Huh.
So
I had not seen this.
Yeah, it's something I ran across recently. I had never heard of it before. This year.
Well, I know your love of zines.
I do have a love of small zines. I try to focus on stuff. For me, and I'm going to point out some of the ones that have interested me and some of the ones that I've backed. I tend to look at stuff that either is good enough that I would actually want to run it, but more is like things that will supplement either games I'm already running or that can easily be, add adventures to a game that I will run, or something that adds a resource to a game, whether it's a, sites, points of interest, or a detailed city, or factions, or whatever. Stuff like that is useful for me as a GM resource.
Yeah, I mean that's the
Because
reason
I am
that
primarily a GM most of the time.
that's the reason I love Dragon Magazine or anything like that. Even if it's from first or second edition, I'm never going to use the stats that are in there, but they're still ideas, and
Yeah.
I always need ideas.
So yeah, and so I just wanted, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Your interest may be, or whoever's listening, their interest may be very different from what the ones that I find interesting. But there's some really cool stuff out there. There's a bunch of stuff being done for Shadowdark, which is obviously right up my alley. DCC has a few ones that are out there. Mothership has a few out there, and then there's also some system neutral stuff that is just there for almost any game.
Well, if you
that
guys are
wanna-
interested in that, there is a Jay remembers the guy that we did.
I saw the post that you're about to talk about, so yeah.
Yeah. I have that material for us to review if you guys want to do that, which is basically a whole set of things that he sent us.
You're talking about the Bridgetown guy?
Yeah, his
Yeah,
group.
yeah. No, I mean Bridgetown was my game of the year that year. Like I'm definitely down for reviewing more of their stuff.
Yeah, so I definitely
stuff.
got more of that. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just going to point out a few of these that I found that I've either backed or found interesting that I thought were, worth a look. At least explore some of the small stuff. Some of it is really great stuff that can easily be added to almost any kind of game world. So there is I've backed Void Echoes #1, which is the zine for Dark Space RPG, which is a sci-fi spin on the Shadowdark rules.
Yeah, I'm all about that one.
Yeah. So this looks like a cool thing. This is their first thing because it has everything you need to actually play, like right in this little scene, like for a basic session. And then you can, if it's up your alley, you can always get the full rules and go forward from there. But that is good. There is second one I'm going to call here is Isle of the Ancients. This is on Kickstarter as well. It is a adventure that is being created by Twin Magi Games, and it is for both Shadowdark. They're doing two versions for Shadowdark and for DCC.
Yep, I'm looking at that one right now.
There is, let's see the next one, Tales of Volksgrad. This is a zine that is just detailing the city of Volksgrad, which is a city that they are providing art and factions and places of interest, something that you can pop into any setting that you might wish to, have an interesting city to populate your world. You've got all kinds of neat factions and there's an underworld and the sewers and things, dangers that are around the area. So just an easy way to put more stuff in your world without you having to do the work.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through these. There's a lot of really good ones.
There's a lot of good stuff. There is Castle of the Veiled Queen, which is a adventure for, I guess there was a book called Beyond Corny Gron, which is a something that was more like a Carpathian Mountain Polish folktale based kind of system neutral RPG book. And this is an adventure for that if you're into those kind of like old, like Eastern European style myths and legends. But it'll work for pretty much any sort of old school, OSR style game, Shadowdark, OSE, those kind of games.
And for those who only play 5e, you could probably still make it work there too.
Yeah, for 5e, it's, if you're playing a D20 based dungeon adventure game, you can probably make it work. This is one. This is called Emergence. It is a funnel for the Mothership RPG, where you are all prisoners, and something happens to the prison where everything goes wrong. The power starts to fail, and some creatures are coming up from beyond, and it's a funnel of, you get out. See if you can get out before it all goes to hell.
Yeah, I've really, just over the last few years, I've really gotten into just enjoying running and or playing funnels. Just you're a fucking plebe with no abilities and you're just trying to survive.
I think it can be a really good way to start a campaign. It can be fun in their own right, just on their own, but it can also be a fun way to start a campaign instead of you having to really worrying too much about like developing a character or anything like that. You get the random guy and like you develop him as you go, as based on whether he survives, and if he does, you have this whole like story of what you went through to become level 1 adventurer.
So we did a couple of DCC games, and I played through one of the funnels with we had 4 characters each. 2 of my characters survived, and it was the 2 characters with the shittiest stats. I had a fucking cleric with like a 9 or I think a 10 wisdom, and a wizard with an 11 intelligence. Just the worst of the worst. So of course that's the ones that survived.
Yep, of course.
I mean,
there's
there's
another
a
one.
theory to that where, like, if you're playing a hardcore character, to only have 1 hit point because you actually will play it more carefully. and
Oh,
actually-
yeah. In a funnel, you've got no more than 4 hit points, and you're gonna die. Like 1 hit's going to kill you because most things deal minimum of 4 damage.
Yeah. There's another one I thought was neat, which is called Solar Crawl, when it's taking a hex crawl but making it like a sci-fi planet exploration, whereas your world is dying and you are venturing out on rocket ships to other worlds to bring back resources to slowly, and then you're kind of in a roguelike way, you are slowly, like, each time bringing back enough resources to build a better ship to go further and further.
What's that one called?
Solar Crawl.
That one actually does sound fun.
Yeah, that sounds really neat. This is one I've backed. And then there's a couple here that haven't launched yet. One's launching tomorrow, and one's launching Tuesday. Tomorrow is the White Horse of Lowvale. This is a folk horror system neutral RPG. The mist rolls in, the water stirs, and a reckoning begins. The mighty white beast seeks revenge and won't rest until it drags us all to the bottom of the lake.
Fucking white bees.
Yep.
Always in our shit.
On Tuesday, there is a zine for a mini bestiary and guide to creating Shadow Dark monsters.
Oh, well, that'll be useful.
Yeah. So, guide for creating the monsters, as well as just a host of new monsters for Shadow Dark. Some of them look cool, like he's got a thing here of an eyeball wall, a pyromancer, and then the Lady of the Deep.
An eyeball wall. That sounds horrifying.
Yeah. So, yeah, Zine Month, Zine Quest. It's just a whole bunch of smaller creators putting together small supplements for games that you may play, or little mini RPGs. But it was a cool thing. I found a bunch of things that I found would be either useful for running games or adventures, short adventures that I would love to throw into something I am running.
So in that same thing, because I was scrolling through all the zines, I came across one I need to mention called Goblinville. Goblinville is a tabletop role-playing game about broke goblins who travel into dangerous places to steal enough gold to make rent.
Head on down to Goblinville.
See, good stuff. Like I say, there's all kinds of neat stuff. Another one, Kal Arath, Twin Sun Sutra by Castle Grief. This is a Conan-esque sword and sorcery, brutal world.
Get it on down to Goblinville.
Yeah.
I'm gonna back the Goblinville. Well, shit, I think it's over with, but I would have backed.
There's a lot of cool ones out there to look through, and there almost assuredly you can find something that'll be interesting or useful for a game that you are running.
Yeah, and the nice thing about the zines is like they're not super expensive. The solar crawl one, like the physical edition, is $35, which isn't too bad. Goblinville, the physical edition, it's already run its course, but it would have been $10. Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, and a lot of the especially if you're only digital, a lot of the digital ones are $5 or $6 if you just want a digital thing.
If you just want PDFs, you can get them real cheap.
There is also Neon City Blues, which is a cyberpunk-esque short game using the system from Brindlewood Bay.
Oh, okay. I never did get to run that. Shit, that's something we should look for at GaryCon. I didn't even think about that.
Brindlewood Bay, yeah.
Yeah, see if anybody's running that. Get to be an old lady solving mysteries.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there, highlight some of that, tell people to go look around, check it out, and see if you find something that's up your alley, because I think almost anybody that runs games can find something in there that they would find useful.
Absolutely.
And this is where you can find a lot of people being very creative in ways you won't find in corporate marketing departments that don't want to take risks.
Yeah, so for anybody trying to find this, it's on Kickstarter as Zine Quest, ZINE-QUEST. And that'll take you to the massive amounts of zines. And I'm probably going to have to forget that exist. Otherwise, I'm going to go fucking broke.
Yeah, I kind of set myself a limit, and I backed a few of them that I thought were neat. Some of them just digital, just because I get what I need out of that for my game. So
A man knows no limits.
Yeah, that's one I could hurt myself on for sure. So the thing I wanted to talk about, you guys didn't look up any ecologies, but fortunately I decided to. And
look at you, fancy man, with your ecologies.
Oh, look at you. So I was going through the list of ecologies in the Dragon magazines, and as I'm scrolling through, I see one called Clockwork Horror. Are any of you familiar with Clockwork Horror?
I have, vaguely. I remember it from
believe I have a
probably
miniature
from Dragon
one
magazine, because I used to have a subscription.
Second or third edition.
Yeah, the
third edition.
The ecology was it was Dragon magazine 350, so it was third edition.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I had never heard of these things. I'm like, oh, well, it's going to be like some clockwork monsters or whatever. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really cool. Let me look at this. Like, how do these things breed and poop and everything? Because
I've definitely encountered them running Undermountain, like old school Undermountain.
Oddly enough, there is a tie to Undermountain.
Mhm.
So they first were created in second edition, and there is actually fifth edition stats for them, and I say that in quotations. um, so I was expecting like a clockwork monster, and the simple truth is these things aren't clockwork at all. Let me find the wiki. Sorry, I've got a whole bunch of articles pulled up here. The history on these things. So there was once an ancient humanoid species that the wisest sages called the Lost Ones. Their origins are long forgotten, but their demise remains as a grisly tale. The Lost Ones liked mechanisms, and the more subtle and clever the device, the more they liked it. Then one of their most brilliant made a device of adamantite, with workings so advanced that only he could understand it, and wove into it powerful spells that granted it both intelligence and magic power. The device, the Adamantite Horror, killed him. The Adamantite Horror spent the next few decades building an army of lesser followers in its own image, and as the Horrors took control of their crystal sphere, they killed all life within it, then tore the worlds apart to use as material to build yet more Horrors. thus passed centuries with the horrors contained within their own sphere, and there they might have remained had a fleet of Neogi death spiders not come seeking slaves. So they show up, these horrors kill the death spiders and take their spell jammers, and out into the worlds they go. They spread from planet to planet, kill everything there, take all the resources, and just keep furthering it down the line.
Neat.
Yeah, yeah. That it's a very science fiction take, because it's Spelljammer and all, but you
Yeah,
think
they're like
it's like
like
Sky,
Tyranids or the Borg.
yeah, or Skynet.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much so. The reason I mentioned there was a tie to Undermountain, Dan, is because there's a NPC in Undermountain called Trobriand.
Trobriand. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of Hallister's
One of the Hollister's
apprentices.
apprentices. Yeah.
Yeah, and he specialized in magical metal creations, and
Metal Mage.
Yeah, Metal Mage, and one of his creations has a likeness to that.
Mm.
So that's the tie.
That's why I remember him. Yep.
Yep. So there's 6 different types of Clockwork Horrors, unless it's in 5th edition, and then there's just Clockwork Horror. If you look at the 2nd edition stats of it, which is when it was created, there's copper, silver, electrum, gold, platinum, and adamantite, and these are from Spelljammer. The copper ones, they don't have any weapons; they're just workers. Then there's the silver one; those are your basic warrior types. They have a saw blade, think like a spinning saw blade, and a dart shooter. The electrum ones have a better saw blade, and they have a steam gun. The gold ones have an even better saw blade, and they shoot a weak lightning bolt, does 3d6 damage. Then the platinum one is even better, and let's see, it has a lightning rod that deals more damage. And then the adamantite horror, well, there's only one adamantite horror in existence, and he deals a d20 with each attack and disintegrates every round. So definitely more of a threat. But the platinum horrors, apparently there's only one per planet. They're sort of the governors of the planet. And the gold horrors would be the nobles. And for 5th edition, where is you? You can look these stats up, but they only have Clockwork Horror. They don't have all the different types. And I'm assuming that this is in the Spelljammer books, as I've never actually looked through them. Because they had the 3 books that came out. I think there were the box set.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But just challenge rating 2, armor class 18, 60 hit points. Every one of them looks like spiders, by the way, with 4 legs. Speed 30 feet, climb 30 feet. Damage immune to lightning and poison, and standard immunities you would expect from constructs. And it's got multi-attack, which is a bite, a rotating saw, or they can do a lightning jolt. And they also have the ability to interface with spelljamming helms. I don't know how that works. They don't really have heads, but apparently they can make spelljammers work.
I know it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, but that's how it works. And
They were kind of in the new edition. They were very lax on what a spelljamming helm was.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think it was a bad idea. But like I always thought it was like,
I don't want to say too much about it because truthfully I had never played Spelljammer. I always knew of it as a helmet. Like wizards could.
I don't think
this story.
I don't think it always was. I think some of it was almost like the helm of a ship, like
it's the helm of a ship. They're all chairs, except if you're like a beholder, it's a crystal.
Okay.
So it wasn't a bad idea,
Let's see, spelljamming helm art. Oh yeah, I guess they are just chairs. I'd always assumed it was a helmet, having never played anything Spelljammer.
I was with you because when it said helm, I was thinking, oh, it's a helmet you got to put on. No,
All
because
right.
there's a fucking flump that fucking flies the one. How does this fucking thing sit in a chair? It
Well, at
doesn't.
least, at least that makes more sense for the Clockwork Horror now. I don't feel
Just
like
lays
that much
its
of a
tentacles
dumbass.
on the chair.
So yeah, that's the ecology of the Clockwork Horror. They don't really breed so much as just mine every resource on a planet and just make more of themselves out of crystals
Yeah.
and metals.
Are any of your various sci-fi and things that consume and assimilate?
Yeah,
To assimilate.
assimilate. Wait, no, that's the wrong one. You will be assimilated.
Man, you just pissed off like 3 different
I know. I did it.
nerdoms
Oh, I
all at
know.
once.
I tried. I tried hard. Pissed off all the Doctor Who people and the Star Trekkies. I'm sure we can get. I'm sure we can get Star Wars people in there because
They're
that's
called Trekkers, damn it.
yeah. Oh, they're Trekkies. Get it right. See, now you're pissing them
Right.
off.
See, you do know the difference. You're just trying to be mean.
Oh, I do understand. I know what Trekkies are. I am a Trekkie.
That's their word, sir.
I can use it. I'm one of them. So anybody else got any last topics before we wrap this up?
Let's call it early tonight.
What's that,
I
Dan?
I said let's call it early tonight because we spent so much extra time last time.
That's true.
Yeah, we were. I thought it was close to 2 hours last time, but we were only about an hour and a half. Craig doesn't actually keep proper time after 1 hour. It's like his watch. His watch is broken. Right now, he's got it at 55 minutes for this recording. But if we hit 1 hour, it's just going to say 1 hour until he says 2 hours, which could be at 1 hour and 1 minute. I don't know. So what were you going to say, Chris?
I saw the thing at GaryCon. One of the things we wanted to go to was the Christian worship service. I'm not sure how I'm going to worship Christian. It's going to be weird. It's just a grumpy DM. Like,
Keep it PG.
Does he ever keep it PG?
No, that's why I'm warning him.
Like usually these
Oh,
podcasts
you know what?
go off the rail at the
Here,
end.
I accept offerings of coffee. It's real easy. It is just buy me a coffee and then present it to me in
buy you some
grandiose fashion.
Gonna buy you some Sanka.
so we got to buy you coffee and then like you said present yourself to it. That's going to be weird.
What's the cheapest coffee on the market?
Oh God, no! It's got to be good coffee. Otherwise, I will be displeased and spill it upon you.
I'll get you some Folgers.
That will be returned to sender.
Some Maxwell House.
What's wrong with Maxwell House coffee and Folgers coffee?
They're not good. That's what's wrong. It's not good.
Don't you love your cousin or your sister, whatever it is? I can't remember the commercial.
Yep, I have no idea.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think it's better that way.
Almost certainly. All right. I guess we'll wrap it up a couple minutes early this time. Yeah, we're still at 55 minutes. I think Craig doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
He's on math. Like, we don't pay him. We get what we get.
Yep. It's our fault. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. Talk to everybody next week. Bye, Craig.
Yeah,
Bye.
Hasbro.